Hello and welcome into the Starters Podcast. I'm Dave, that's George and Simon. How's it going, boys?
What's going on, Dave?
Ready to rock and roll.
Who's texting us?
Anyone exciting?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's my wife. It's okay. Very exciting.
Nice. I like it. All right, so don't forget to follow us on Instagram, X, and TikTok at the Starter690. And of course, listen to Simon and Joey Saturdays and Sundays, 10 to noon, live on TSN 690. All right, guys, you guys ready to jump in here?
Yes, sir.
All right, question number one, brought to you by Billy Case. Simon, I saw your tweet earlier this week about Billy Case, and it made me immediately want Billy Case. I'm very upset that I was not there.
I walked in, I busted my sister-in-law and her husband in there. So boom, I said sauce. Nice. Yeah, it was fantastic, man. I
saw what you had.
It was a smash burger and a poutine. It was fantastic, Dave. I can't lie to you. In the Laval location.
It was a fantastic picture because I just wanted a Billy Case poutine right off the bat as soon as I saw it, and it was just phenomenal. So be sure to check them out at Billy Case Burgers on Instagram. They do absolutely fantastic food there, as we all know. All three of us are big fans. All right, guys. I want to know basically we've talked about the MVP race before, a little bit before, but I want to know, obviously I think Jane Daniels is probably a lock for Offensive Rookie of the Year, but can he also win the MVP?
I don't see why not. I think I got Lamar ahead of him. Maybe this is what happens. Maybe Lamar gets a whole bunch of votes, and then the same people that can vote for Lamar vote for Derrick Henry, so it kind of swallows up some of the votes, splits the votes in that area, maybe Eastern Seaboard or whatever you want to call it. And then you're looking at the NFC, maybe him, maybe Jared Goff. So, I think Patrick Mahomes on the best team in football. I just don't think the numbers are outstanding. Right now it's Lamar, Jared Goff, Josh Allen having a good year. But the question is, and I'm going to say, Dave, yes, he can. Why not?
All right. George?
Got to see him live week 3 and was thoroughly impressed. I remember texting you guys from the game going, this kid's good and he's good. He can pretty much do it all. The weird thing is we're surprised. I mean, he did win the Heisman Trophy, so it's not like he's coming out of nowhere. He was a high draft pick. Can he win the MVP? I don't think he's going to do it this year. You've got Lamar, Jared Goff's having a career year, and there's some dark horses too. I don't think you can take Kyler Murray out of it just yet. He's had a resurgence. He's got that Arizona team being competitive. Maybe Joe Burrow puts a 6-7 game win streak together, and all of a sudden we start talking about and there's one other guy that's standing right now undefeated. It's Patrick Mahomes. So that's a deep field. He's a rookie. Writers are finicky about that stuff, about giving MVPs to rookies. So I'm going to say it's not going to happen this year. Can he? Yeah. Will he? No. That's my answer.
Josh Allen, too. We got to remember Josh
Allen as well.
Yeah.
All right. We'll move on to question number 2. We'll talk a little basketball. But first, question number 2 brought to you by Cunningham's Pub. Absolute best chicken wings in all of Montreal. You could have voted for them, but I don't think you even need to vote because everybody knows that Cunningham's Pub has the best chicken wings in all of town. Check them out at Cunningham's Pub on Instagram. All right, guys. Joel Embiid, he suspended 3 games for nothing, but not something he did on the court for his behavior off the court in the locker room. He shoved Marcus Hayes, a columnist who had written something that Embiid of personal nature that Embiid did not like. And so the NBA steps in and suspends him 3 games. I just want to know, do you guys think it is fair?
It's fair, and I think you kind of maybe low if you think about it, because I mean, there's a couple of rules if you're a professional athlete. You don't hit fans, and you definitely don't hit journalists.
So, I hit Dave, though. I punched Dave.
Yeah, but it's a little different. You're not an athlete, but
if I was saying that.
Yeah, okay, all right, fair enough. But how can you justify? And it's crazy because Twitter is, they're backing Joel Embiid here, which I just think is absolute craziness. I understand maybe what the columnist said was a little bit, outside the lines of what a columnist should be talking about when you're referring to somebody's dead brother and their son. And he's allowed to be upset. He's allowed to voice that he's upset. He's allowed even to, vocally, maybe a couple of F-bombs here and there. But putting your hands on a columnist when you're 7 feet tall and you're 230 pounds, 240 pounds, I don't know how big Joel Embiid is completely ridiculous. And I think, if anything, the NBA was a little light with this suspension. I think he's completely out of line. And anybody that supports anything of that nature, I think they just don't get it. I think a columnist, he has a job to do. Sometimes his opinions are unpopular, and they're paid to give opinions. And sometimes their opinions are a little bit out of line. And maybe his opinion was out of line. I'm not going to defend what he said, but in no way, shape, or form can Joel Embiid put his hands on a journalist. Sorry, wrong.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Listen, you're a pro. You got to act like a pro. You can't put your hands on anybody, specifically a reporter, in that locker room. There's other ways to handle it. I think we got to be careful, right? Because we start to open up this Pandora's box where a reporter can say nothing and hits you with well, I'm a reporter and I want to write about it, and free speech and all that stuff. I think you start bringing in a man's child and his dead brother. I don't know. I don't know if what Red Fisher would think about that type of writing. Not that I remember ever speaking to Red Fisher, but I'm just going to throw his name out there. I think there's a fine line, and I think that
name dropping.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things here, and the lack of maybe professionalism across the board. Embiid is the easy one. You put your hands on a reporter. You're not supposed to do that. But if that guy wants to write that article and wants to get the clickbait and wants to get Three Stooges here on the Starters podcast to talk about him, and we spoke about it on the Starters on the radio show, mission accomplished. He got everybody talking about it. I think there's a fine line. I can't write. I'm not a writer. I think it's a gift to be a good writer. And if you have to do that to get clickbaits and people to read your article, then you're probably not a good writer. So I think that says something about the writer and his ability to put something together. Because I'm pretty certain, I read some of that stuff, you can tweak that properly. Like to me, it was like the reporter, once he pressed send, he said, let's go viral. Let's go viral. Let's get everybody talking about it. And he got the reaction he wanted from Embiid. We spoke about it as I said, we spoke about it on Saturday. What I would have liked to seen on Saturday, I said, Philadelphia 76ers suspend Joel Embiid without pay, which they did exactly that. Donate that money to charity. And also the Philadelphia 76ers, forget about this, whatever amendment it is, the free speech. And no, don't let the guy back in the locker room. Speak to that, speak to his newspaper, speak to his editor. It's like, here's 100 articles about the Sixers, about when James Harden was here and they sucked, and when Allen Iverson was here. Here, read all this stuff. Does that look like anything like this, what this guy put out? And the answer is probably going to be no. So I don't think, I think it's a privilege if you're a sports writer to have access to the locker room. And I think there's a level of accountability and there's a level of professionalism that comes along with that.
I'm gonna disagree a little bit on that. I just feel you're a sports writer, you're a columnist, you're giving opinions, and sometimes your opinion will unfortunately go outside the lines. In this case, it was extreme. I'm not going to defend what he said, but you can't start tossing journalists outside of the locker room because you don't like what they say.
No, I think.
I mean, free speech is
you keep it like George. I don't know how long you've been watching the Habs. Has anybody been tossed out of the locker room?
Well, nobody really takes any hot takes anymore. I mean, Jean Tremblay wasn't allowed to fly back on the team plane.
Dude, you lived in a world where Saku Koivu wasn't taking a beating.
I hear you, but I just think we cannot get into a world where we start asking journalists not to follow the team because we don't like what he's saying. Well,
yeah, you can, because Philadelphia is a hotbed for sports.
I don't think you can do that. I think if teams start doing that,
the proof is this, George, that you've been watching sports for 35, 40 years. Do you remember this happening? So teams don't do it until somebody.
I've seen in the New York Post.
I don't remember anybody getting.
Yeah, a couple of times.
Putting hands on a reporter?
Not hands on a reporter, but I mean them getting into a confrontation, if you will.
We cover the Habs. we watch American sports, so we cover the Cowboys and the Yankees and Alabama football and whatever, and all these places that are overly critical of their teams. And not once have I seen a player put hands. And maybe there's been altercations. I remember Rob Dibble went after somebody, but I think he went after his manager, actually.
Yeah,
but,
it was Lupinella.
Yeah, there you go. So for the fact that there is 32 NHL teams, 30 NBA teams, 32 NFL teams, whatever Major League Baseball teams is, it happens all the time. And for this guy to get to the point where a player said enough is enough. But this is the world we're heading down this road, right? It's about the clip, it's about getting reactions, about getting your name.
I just think, we saw it. I don't remember which college team. I think it's Colorado and Sanders who banned a reporter, and it was panned universally as completely wrong, because when we start doing that, when we start banning journalists from doing their job, and that's what a journalist is supposed to do. He's supposed to give his opinion, and sometimes his opinion isn't very good, or it's not agreed upon. I just don't agree with the banning of any sort for the journalists. You can give your opinion. You can say that was a shitty article, and that's fair enough.
All right. Feel free to tell us what you think, listeners. Let us know how you feel in the comment section. It's definitely a hot button topic. I mean, it's not. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here, but I mean, definitely what the writer wrote, if it's true, and I don't know what their personal, if they had a relationship prior to this, but I mean, that's a weird thing to write about, to be honest. If I were
it's wrong.
Professional athlete, I mean, it's a line you don't want to cross. All right, guys, we'll skip to the Habs, and question number 3 brought to you by EA Fitness, having a 20% sale for the first 3 months of any new member. And if you're already a member and you're saying, hey, what about me? They have a great referral program. So you can refer a friend. Simon, you're a member. Refer somebody, and you're going to get a lot of rewards. I don't know who you're. I don't know who you're pointing to, but no, definitely. I think I could use some EA Fitness in my life. I'm not going to lie to you, but so check them out at eafitness.inc. And I'm not joking about the 20% off. Go out there, and it's a pre-Black Friday sale, so go make sure to sign up there. All right, guys. So we're into the Habs season. It's been fun at times. It's been sad at times. And it's been hard at times to watch. I just want to get your guys' thoughts on Kirby Dach, right? Kirby Dach, penciled in forever as a number 2 center. He played a millisecond last year before getting injured, and kind of had the benefit of not having any criticism, I guess, throughout the year, because he was the number 2C de facto, and he couldn't do any wrong because he wasn't playing. Now that he's finally here, everyone, I think, expected maybe a little bit of a slow start, but things maybe are not turning out the way they want. So I just want to know, what would you guys do with Kirby Dach? He's played up on the wing. He's played at center. What would you guys do?
Dave, I just go back to playing him at center. I'm sure he can play wing in the NHL, and if he can't play on the top line, I'm quite certain he can play on a second line wing. So that, to me, Alex Newhook and Yoel Armia can get minutes on a second line and run around. Like, I'm sure Kirby Dach can survive an NHL season as a first or second line winger. The stress for this team has been, I don't know, for 25, 30 years, the depth at center ice position. And then once you got somebody that was relatively okay, like I've always liked Thomas Buchanan, but he was not a point of game player. Neither was Saku, right? It was always the depth behind that guy was always a struggle. So you have Nick Suzuki. You can pencil him in as a first line center, and just run Kirby Dach out there. Run him out there and figure it out. And if we get to December and January and it's not working, leave him at wing. Spend your offseason looking for another center. But I get what the coach is trying to do. Maybe get him some momentum, feel good about himself, getting him on the score sheet and stuff like that at wing. Good. But you can also just give him a little bit more power play time, and maybe he can get the point production being done there. But for me, get him back at center, let him figure it out. And if he can't figure it out, and then you've identified he's not a center, then great, move on. Well, I don't mean trade him, but move on to finding that other center.
All right.
So, I don't give Simon enough credit. I like to argue with him.
Right.
And, you got to understand our relationship. We've known each other we're going close to 20 years now, arguing about sports. Yeah, it's that long. Don't look back. But, I remember a phone call we had, and we were talking about Kirby Dach, and I said, look, the Canadiens are going in the right way. They got Kirby Dach, and he said, hold your horses. The guy played one game. Yeah, he looked great for one game, but what the hell is one game? And that was his take, and it kind of, it dawned on me that not only is he correct, but we fast forward a year later, and he's struggling mightily. And I think the only answer is you just got to play him. And you got to give him minutes. And I think center is where you do it. And you try to get this guy going. And like Simon said, I mean, you get to January and it's not working. Well, then you move him up and down the lineup. You try to find a spot with him. You try to find somebody that's going to click with him on the wing. And you do your best to make it work because you got a lot invested in Dach right now.
You got to answer that question too. Like
you have to answer that question.
And if he's not, so what? Okay, if he's not.
Yeah, you took a chance, and I mean, you took a chance on a first-round pick, right? And he's a big guy. The Canadiens are always looking for these kind of big bodies that can skate, and Kirby Dach filled that bill. It didn't work out.
Yeah, and if he happens to be a winger, and then Patrick Laine is not here forever, right? Patrick Laine's got a 2-year deal. For all you know, fast forward into next year, a trade deadline, and maybe Patrick Laine is gone as a Hab, and it's Dach and Demidov as the guys that are left on your second line, and maybe those are your wingers. So
or he's a third liner. He lines up as a third liner, and he can play. He can play third line minutes, and we'll see. I mean, look, they have a lot invested. That's not what they're hoping for. They're hoping he turns into a top 6 forward. But, can he find a role with the Montreal Canadiens and maybe a contract extension? Yeah, why not? Let's see. Let's find out.
All right. Well, we'll stick with the Habs for our question number 4, but it is brought to you by Boneyard. Follow them at BoneyardMTL on Instagram. Their latest post, I mean, they have 3 bowls, and I'm going to tell you there's the French mac and cheese, which looks quite delicious. The barbecue pork, which looks
also
somehow even better, and the Trinidadian chicken, which looks absolutely phenomenal as well. They do some
don't
good
try to
food.
do the mac and cheese solo. Get some help with there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think I can go solo on this.
I think I can go solo as well.
I think I can do this, Simon.
It was good. Very nice. Very rich. I liked it a lot. It was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. So they're located in the LaBrosse, on LaBrosse Street, obviously in the West Island, and right off St. John's. And go check them out. They have some amazing bowls there, and they look absolutely fantastic. So check them out at Boneyard MTL. All right, guys. So Habs are on their second, 4-game losing streak of the season already, and I mean, it's look. I mean, everyone knew it was probably going to be a tough year, but I'm just wondering, do you guys think that there's anybody in Laval that could help the Habs? I mean, they just sent Oliver Kapanen to Sweden. He's done playing for the Habs for the years after 12 games. So I just want to know anybody in Laval that you guys think can come up and help the Habs now.
So I have an unfortunate take is that I don't usually follow the Rocket, but I have this year. And out of interest to see, kind of what these
good year to start.
Yeah, well, you've got a lot of high draft picks that are developing there, and I think it's a good year to go and see what's going on. And I've actually paid attention, and my answer is yes, in the form of Connor Hughes, who has impressed the hell out of me. He looks NHL ready. I mean, I've been uberly impressed with Connor Hughes. He might be one of the, he's an older goalie. Goalies, as we know, take more time to develop guys. He looks NHL ready. He looks like kind of like, when Andrew Hammond came up for Ottawa, came in, started stealing some games. Yeah. I mean, it's starting to look a little bit like that. He's an older guy. I think he's figured it out. He seems professional. There's no wasted movement out there when he's making saves. He looks like a guy that's really taking a step forward and wants to prove something. And he was not a guy that was penciled in to really be a guy in Laval. And all of a sudden, he's taken the puck and literally ran with it. And I think, Primo hasn't looked great. Montembeault, I mean, got pulled 2 of the last 3 games. He did okay against the Flames, but I think Connor Hughes might be that guy. You know, spark, put him in. He wins you, I don't know, guy comes in, wins you 10 games or something, and all of a sudden.
It's a big number.
Yeah, it's a huge number. I like to be positive here, but I like Connor Hughes. Why not? What do you got to lose? Let's go. Roll the dice. Give me some Connor Hughes.
It's funny. I remember listening to the morning show during the preseason, and Mark Denis was quite enthralled by Connor Hughes as well. I seem to recall him liking his game.
He's
as
taking
well.
a big jump. I'm telling you, this is a big jump.
From Europe too, right? So a little bit more seasoned, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people didn't know about him, didn't get a chance to see him, and then you have a guy like Mark Denis who, played goalie at the highest level. So yeah, that's a good eye there on Mark, and good eye on Dave to remember that he did think he was very good in camp.
Yeah, George. I mean, that's a good name. Thank you for coming out of the left field there. Of all the names on the, I wouldn't thought you would have said that one. So that's a good one. Simon?
Yes, sir. I'm going to say leave it alone for now. I just want to see Logan Mailloux, Joshua Roy. I want to see them excel. Like, I think there'll be a time to bring them up. Maybe a guy like Tuck, see what he can bring at an NHL level. But it's okay. Like, the Habs might be like a month away, maybe Christmas, by the time where the mathematics are just completely skewed against them, and they just simply will not be a playoff team. I think there's definitely a role there and a spot for Mailloux and Roy and I don't know, Kidney or Sean Farrell. I don't know. Whoever you want to bring up, get them a look. But you know what? Send them back. Like, if the Laval Rocket, what are they now sitting at? 7-1, 8-1, whatever they're sitting at. They're playing at a high level. Place is packed. Allow them to build some confidence. And none of those guys down there are coming back to save your season. There's nobody down there that's going to turn your season around, or the only thing they can do is showcase themselves and maybe give themselves a step up on next year's preseason. That time will come. But for now, I love what I'm seeing with the Rocket. I think it's important to have a healthy American Hockey League affiliate, the one that playoff bound, playoff victories, maybe even a Calder Cup in there. So leave it alone. You want to give these guys their minutes. Well after the Rocket have positioned themselves as one of the better teams in the American Hockey League, bring them up. Let the Rocket younger players figure it out for like a week or two, but send them back down, man. The Rocket have done good things. Coach is doing some good things. They're fun to watch. Don't just pull the rug on these guys, because there's nobody in that roster that's going to come here and turn things around for the Habs. You just want to give Logan Mailloux, you want to give Joshua Roy, you want to give these guys maybe another look, but that's it.
I like that a lot too. I do like the concept of them, actually getting real playing time and
Be the man.
helping a team win there, as opposed to coming up to this not a mess, but this type of hockey that's being played up here. All right, guys. Question number 5, final question, brought to you by Vivaldi at Resto Vivaldi, of course. Our boy Steve doing wonders over there.
Superstar.
Superstar, absolute superstar, and he's doing quite well on the YouTube. So go check him out at Resto Vivaldi over there. All right, guys. So I wanted to ask this question about the Alouettes. Obviously, Eastern Final on Saturday, sold out, by the way. Alouettes hosting. Now, the Alouettes, obviously, they're favorites, and they're looking good. But the last time they picked up a victory against a team that's not called the Ottawa Redblacks was way back in August 25th. So there is a little bit of cause for concern if you're an Owls fan. And so I just want to know, will the Owls be Grey Cup bound after this Saturday?
Oh, boy. I don't have a good feeling going into this game, honestly. I watched too much of that damn Argos game last week when they were going up and down the field. They were scoring at will.
Oh, yeah, that was nuts.
They got a couple of pick sixes on defense. Look, there's something to be said about the Habs. The Owls not playing a very meaningful football game in well over a month. Now, again, like if you fast forward to next year, like Simon, do you want them to lock up a playoff spot as early as possible? Or do you want to drag it out to week 16 and 17? No. Again, yes, you want to lock up that playoff spot early. But they haven't looked great. They haven't looked I think the defense has been okay. Just watching a little bit of the offense, maybe sometimes some issues scoring in the red zone. They're healthy. The one thing I don't like, man, the Argos have that chip on their shoulder. They remember what happened last year. They were arguably one of the greatest league teams ever, regular season team ever, and the Alouettes went in there and just banked them. So I think they're going to be up for it. I'm worried about that first quarter. I want to see what the reaction is and just, how it works out for the first 15 minutes. Austin Mack is back, should be healthy. You have a playmaker on the edge, a defense that last year going into this stretch of the season just flipped the switch, and you're hoping they can do it again. I think the Owls win, but I don't think it's going to be comfortable, not for a minute.
All right, George?
So you don't have a good feeling, but the Owls are going to win.
Yeah, listen, I don't think it's – I think it's going to come down to a field goal at the buzzer.
It's hedging his bet, I would call that.
No, it's not going to be a blowout. That's what I'm telling you.
Okay. I have a good feeling about this game. I'll tell you what, went last year and saw the Argonauts absolutely dismantle the Alouettes at home last year, and then go into the playoffs and beat the Argonauts. So I don't think it means much. The fact that they haven't played a meaningful game is actually, I think, a good thing, because allowed to get people rest. Fajardo missed some time. Austin Mack coming back, as you mentioned. They haven't had a full complement of Alouette starters. They do now. Also, they're the favorites, boys. They're right now the betting favorites. I think this game, they get it done. Where it starts to get difficult is I'm looking past them. And I don't know. Next game after that.
Hey, that's a question for next week.
Yes. I got you. But I'm going to say Alouettes win in a close one, but they get it done.
All right. I like it.
Let's hope.
I like it. All right, guys. So thank you all. Don't forget to check us out on Instagram, on TikTok, on X, wherever you can find us at the Starter 690. Subscribe to us on YouTube, and don't hesitate to answer the questions alongside with us. We want you guys to play alongside. All right. Thank you, George. Thank you, Simon. Have a great night, and we'll talk soon.
Have a good night, guys.
Cowboys.
Thanks, boys.